Look, the Tigers. This is a rough week. Okay, so they went out and they lost 9 straight games. Nine, 9 in a row. I posted the video of the clip last week after the Riley Green injury, talking about just how down bad the Tigers are. But 9 games in a row, start a month. They didn't win a single game in the month of June until yesterday. Now, I want you to think. Okay, this is your stat that I heard today. That was or maybe not today, maybe like last week. I think it was today. Or maybe yesterday. I don't remember when I heard it. I heard it at some point. Do you want to know the last time that the Tigers opened up a month and lost 9 straight? 2003, 2019, sometime in the 90s. None of those are accurate. It was never. That's right. It was never. For the first time in franchise history, the Tigers lost 9 straight to open a month. We witnessed history in these opening days of the month of June. We witnessed history in the worst sense of the word. We witnessed ineptitude on levels that is borderline illegal, perhaps cruel and unusual punishment we need to invoke. I believe that is the 8th Amendment. I don't know which amendment it is. The one involving cruel and unusual punishment, we may need to invoke that to stop the Detroit Tigers from playing. Now, I'm going to give them credit. They had a good win last night, but I mean, I don't anticipate, if they play the game tonight, I don't anticipate they're going to come back and do that again, because it was, all things considered, a bit fluky. But Spencer Torkelson had a pretty good night, so that was good to see. But I just, that's the thing about baseball, though. We lose 9 games. We were the coldest team in the MLB, in Major League Baseball. And then we just walk off one of the best teams in the league. Like, we just walk off the Atlanta Braves after being down 4 or 5-1 or 5-2. We were down 5-2 entering the 9th inning, and we come back. It's unbelievable. It really is. But look, the Tigers right now, they're just in a downward spiral, and I don't anticipate them coming back from it. Maybe they win a couple of series. Maybe, I mean, like, my thing is, and I think I've been saying this on the show for a while. My thing is, I am interested in the players that I anticipate keeping along, which are Torkelson, Green. I don't know who else. Like, I really don't. Maybe Kerry Carpenter. Maybe Reese Olson. He's going to be potentially pitching tonight. He's a pretty young player, and he's had a pretty good start. Maybe some of the other pitchers, Tarek Skubal, Casey Mize. Casey Mize isn't going to play this year, but I'm not really that sold on any of the players that we have right now, other than, yeah, they're pretty all right. You know, they have some players that are like, not too bad. Like, we have a few players that are horrendously bad. Believe me, I know. We have Javier Baez, who swings and misses at pitches that are probably in other ballparks, just by how far they are off the plate. But I look at the Tigers, and I just look at a team that is, they need a whole lot of work, and Scott Harris has got a lot to do in terms of loading up this system, in terms of acquiring talent through free agency and through trades and what have you. But I had this epiphany. I don't know if that's the right word. I had this thought that, this division is pretty weak. The Tigers were like a game and a half out of the division just a couple of weeks ago. And obviously it was never really real. But you think, if you'd go through an offseason, is it possible that this team wins an eviction next year? Is it possible? Well, it's always possible, right? You start the year 0-0. I think when you look at the other, teams, you look at the Guardians, who are they couldn't develop a power hitter if their life depended on it, not name Jose Ramirez. And you look at the White Sox, who are directionless. You look at the Royals, who are equally directionless. And the Twins, again, directionless. Teams that have no direction, that have no culture, that have no anything. There's nothing about those teams where you look at them and you can identify what it is they're trying to do. I don't know what the Twins are doing. They're winning the division because somebody's got to win. And the White Sox, they theoretically have talent. I'm not totally convinced of that, but theoretically they do. The Royals, again, theoretically have some talent. Bobby Witt Jr., but he's basically been a no-show this year. And a lot of their other young pieces also pretty much like Brady Singer having a really not good year. Same with a few of their other players. And I'm honestly a little surprised with the Royals. I thought maybe they were going to take a step forward this year, but they just, jeez, I mean, my point of saying all this, if Scott Harris is the best GM, the best president of baseball, or whatever you want to call it, if he's the best GM in this division, I don't see why it's totally unreasonable to believe that next year in a team with a probably overhauled roster, because I just think of the guys you're not going to have. You're not going to have Miguel Cabrera. You're not going to have Jonathan Scope. You're probably not going to have Jake Rogers or Eric Haas. Maybe you have one of them, but you won't have both of them. You're probably not going to have Nick Maton, I would hope. You're probably not going to have Andy Ibanez. You're probably not going to have even potentially Zach Short. I don't know what his situation is. Point is, a lot of these players you're probably not going to have. And you're also going to have a lot of players back from injury. So you're going to have potentially, Tarek Skubal, depending on, I don't know if we'll trade him. I don't know what the situation is on that. You're certainly going to have Casey Mize, Matt Manning as well. So that was the supposed three-headed monster the Tigers were going to bring up in terms of pitching. You probably won't have Eduardo Rodriguez. He's probably either going to opt out or you're going to trade him. Or, like I said earlier in the show, you could trade him and you could sign him back and, he could be a piece on this pitching staff. But you're also not going to have Michael Lorenzen. And I'm not trying to disparage necessarily any of these players because some of them are decent. Some of them are good. Michael Lorenzen has been good. Eduardo Rodriguez has been good. Zach Shorter has been good. But the team is going to look a whole lot different. And a lot of the dead weight, especially in Miguel Cabrera and Jonathan Scope, and either or both of these catchers, and Andy Ibanez, who granted had a pretty nice game last night, actually a really nice game last night, but generally not really, a long-term solution as far as bats go. But who knows? I mean, he's also 30 years old, so he's probably not got much of a future with us. And you think of guys that we have in our system. We got Colt Keith, who's been absolutely raking at AA. You have Justin Emery Malloy, who granted has been to a bit of a slump in AAA, but I'm sure he could probably bounce back. He's had a pretty good year with them overall, just because he had a monster April. And I also think of any of the trades that we make, and we will be making trades at the deadline. Whatever we get back from that, it's going to change the outlook of this team pretty quickly. And look, whether or not, winning the division is quote unquote good for the long-term success of the team. I mean, look, if next year you can push yourself to winning the division, I don't see how that's a bad thing. I mean, you're going to have another year of Riley Green. Hopefully, once he comes back, he's going to be as good as he was in the month of May, pretty consistently. Hopefully, Spencer Torkelson can start to turn on that power as we saw last night. And, you look at it and you're like, we have little things. We need that certified dog, right? Torkelson's a good player. I don't know if he's going to be the certified dog. Riley Green's a good player. I don't know if he's a certified dog. We need that kind of superstar kind of bat. That bat that comes up to the lineup and you're basically, you know, you're most of the time you're like, okay, this guy's up in the lineup. We're probably going to score here. Whether it's home run, double, triple, RBI single, walk even. Like he's a guy who's going to get on base, he's going to hit for power, all that jazz. We need that kind of guy. We need a Ronald Acuna. We need an Aaron Judge. I don't know. We need a guy like that. And I think also we could make some moves in the offseason in terms of free agency. For one, we're going to have a whole lot of payroll with Miguel Cabrera finally getting off of the books. And, Eduardo Rodriguez most likely getting off the books and Jonathan Schoop getting off of the books. Now, it all comes down to whether or not Chris Ilitch wants to spend. But look, I think for Tigers fans, I look at the Arizona Diamondbacks, 2021. They were terrible. They were 100-loss plus team. Now they're looking like one of the most up and coming, if not the best team in the NL right now. So I don't know. I'm not in the total despair mode that I once was in with this team. Not that this year is going to change. This year it's terrible. And Javier Baez is just continuing to prove that he is one of the worst contracts in baseball, if not ever. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun here in Tiger Nation.